A hushed whisper cut through the cozy atmosphere of the Lantern Restaurant, nestled on the Seattle coast. Graham Harrison, the 53-year-old founder of a sprawling luxury hotel empire, sat at his usual window table, alone. Every year, on this exact day, he came here to silently commemorate the founding of his company, a legacy he'd built with his beloved wife, Caitlin. On his left hand, a beautiful antique ring gleamed, white gold cradling a sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. It was a family heirloom, passed down for over a century. He was lost in thought, a quiet ritual of remembrance. A young waitress, Haley, perhaps 20 years old with warm brown hair and thoughtful eyes, approached his table. Graham didn't even lift his gaze as she began to fill his wine glass. But then she suddenly froze. Her eyes landed on the ring, and a gasp, almost a whisper, escaped her lips. "Excuse me, sir, but my mother has exactly the same ring." Graham flinched. The world seemed to tilt. There were only 3 such rings ever made. His great-grandfather had commissioned them in England in the late 19th century. One was on his hand. The second had vanished with his brother Patrick during a forgotten expedition to Iceland. And the third, he had always believed, was buried with Caitlin, who had tragically died in a car accident 20 years ago. A cold dread crept into his chest. He turned slowly to face Haley, fighting to keep the tremor from his voice. "What is your mother's name?" he managed to ask. The girl answered without a hint of hesitation. "Catherine Moore." Graham turned deathly pale. Caitlin's maiden name, before they married, was also Moore. He suddenly found it hard to breathe, his lungs refusing to cooperate. "How old is your mother?" he pressed, the words barely escaping his lips. 48, she replied, a hint of confusion in her thoughtful eyes. Caitlin, if she were alive, would have been precisely that age. Graham's heart pounded against his ribs. "Please," he urged, "show me a photograph." Haley, still bewildered, took out her phone and showed him a recent picture. Graham froze. It was her. Older, yes, with eyes that held a different depth, a different expression forged by time and trials. But it was undeniably her. He had no more. His voice strained. He asked, "Where does she live?" Haley, still trying to make sense of the millionaire's intense reaction, simply said, "In Portland." An hour later, they were racing down the highway in his sleek black SUV, the quiet suburbs blurring past them. The lights of Portland's streets eventually appeared outside the window. It was well past midnight when they finally stopped in front of a modest house. The front door opened almost immediately. A woman in a dark sweater, her hair showing streaks of gray at the temples, stood on the threshold. She saw Graham and dropped the keys. He whispered her name, Caitlin, and in that moment, time seemed to stand perfectly still. The painful truth was revealed in the long hours that followed. 20 years ago, when Graham had become entangled with a shadowy investor named Richard Coleman, Caitlin had realized that her pregnancy made them both incredibly vulnerable. After receiving a chilling, anonymous phone call filled with threats, she made an impossible choice. To protect herself and their unborn child, she faked her own death. She ran away, changed her name to Catherine, and painstakingly built a new life far from the danger that had threatened to consume them. When Coleman later died under mysterious circumstances, the direct threat was gone. She could have come back, but fear, shame, and the immense pain of her decision held her captive. She didn't know how to return, how to explain the unthinkable. They talked through the entire night, reliving 20 years in a single, agonizing conversation. Graham didn't reproach her. He didn't accuse. He simply looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and profound relief, and he listened. Everything he had thought was lost to him, everything he had grieved for 2 decades, was alive. It was standing right in front of him. 3 years later, on a sun-drenched day at a beautiful hotel overlooking the Pacific coast in Auckland, New Zealand, Graham and Caitlin got married again. Haley, radiant in a white dress, walked with them down the aisle to the sweet, lilting sounds of a violin. And the ring that had once been a symbol of lost love and a secret division had now, once again, become a powerful symbol of a new beginning, a testament to a love that had defied time and tragedy. What an absolutely incredible and moving story of love, sacrifice, and an impossible reunion. Dear friends, if this video touched your heart and reminded you that sometimes the greatest treasures are those we thought were lost forever, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. There's still a lot more inspiring and interesting stories ahead.